I do think they intended to kill us. I've no doubt about that.
I seen the blood hanging out of my son. I seen him squealing.
4 carloads jumped out and beat him with hammers and hatchets.
We have had over 60 attacks.
For months, parts of Ballymurphy have looked like a war zone. There have been knife and gun attacks, and petrol bombings and intimidation are commonplace. It's cost £1 million to police and centres on 2 families who deny they're involved in a feud. The Devlins and the Notarantonios. This is where some of the Notarantonio family live.
They tried a petrol bomb Sunday night. They got the perspex off, but I got out and I chased them.
I chased them,
hit the
bricks
windows
and all.
with bricks.
We do have
CCTV of the attack.
CCTV.
If you want to see it, Steve,
Sure.
CCTV. No, put it on here. Oh.
We've lived here 26 years. This is my first home. And we kept going to, we're not letting anybody bully us out. Nobody's going to bully us out of our home.
Must be hard because everybody lives so close together who's involved in all this.
Yeah, and it's hard looking at... When you go outside and you see the neighbours looking at you and going, are they not going to say nothing? They are afraid. They are afraid.
We understand they are afraid. No doubt.
I mean, people's watch it. It's been there when it's happened, out on the street, just in a minute and close the doors.
Bernie O'Rourke is part of the Devlin family.
You can see those scorch marks up the wall.
Here?
Yeah. We had 2 attacks there on 2 consecutive nights last month. The front one didn't do too much damage. As you can see, it's just scorch marked, but we have a hose out the back and a water tap, so we put it out very quickly.
And you've now got perspex on the window
We had to take precautions ourselves and put those up in anticipation of something like that happening.
This is Whitecliff Parade in Ballymurphy, where Gerard Devlin lived with his family. It was here he was fatally stabbed 9 months ago.
He was good-hearted and great with kids. He's done anything for you. He's a gentleman, Gerard.
But Gerard Devlin had another side. He had a reputation as a street fighter.
Were people frightened of him?
No, they wouldn't say they were frightened of him. Gerard spoke to everybody. Everybody spoke to Gerard. Well, they wouldn't like to run across and put him that way, but Gerard didn't come across that way that he's made out to be. But he could handle himself.
And did the police know about him?
Yes.
Why was that?
Because we all sent for the police because of the rows in Ballymurphy and Whitecliff Parade. Gerard could handle himself. Gerard wasn't going to let anybody take him in the street or going to answer to anybody else in the street.
Gerard could have went out there and used his hands. He was one man on his own. It stood with his hands and not whims. And I always looked up at Gerard for doing that.
Gerard Devlin's partner of nearly 20 years was Anya McMahon. She says before he died, a series of allegations were made about him.
Start telling lies about him, making stories up, saying he was a drug dealer. This was all lies, and everybody knew it was lies. They tortured him in the street.
This is Victor Notarantonio. He's a former neighbour of the Devlin family. And he's one of those who admits he did have trouble with Gerard Devlin.
As a matter of fact, I honestly say that my family has never fought with Gerard Devlin. It's been the other way around. You know, and I'm 100% sure of that. My family wouldn't be that stupid to fight with Gerard Devlin. He's a big love of a man.
But the Devlin family would say there was animosity there.
Animosity, maybe. Yeah, didn't like each other. But we'd never started fighting with Gerard Devlin.
The fatal stabbing this year wasn't the first time Gerard Devlin was attacked. In 2003, the father of 6 claimed he had his throat cut, and in 2005 he alleged he was assaulted with a pitchfork. Charges weren't brought, but to reduce tension in the area, he agreed to move away.
When Gerard had got his throat cut and there was talks going on between the families, Gerard wasn't allowed into his own street, into Wycliffe Parade. He was asked to stay out of it. They had got an exclusion order to keep him out of the area and out of that street, so he stayed out of the street. So Gerard would have come in here to see his kids when they come out of school.
On February the 3rd this year, the day he died, Gerard Devlin came back to Ballymurphy to pick up his children. He first called at his aunt's house, Isabel Loughran, just a minute's walk from his old home.
He was in here with me that day. He was here with me. He brought in the new dog that he had brought and brought the dog in. And it was 3:45 when he left here and walked down the street with the dog. And it was 3:55 when 2 of his children come up and told me that a fight had started in the street.
She believes that her nephew felt he was in danger that day.
He sort of knew. Call it a premonition or whatever, but Gerard knew.
In late afternoon, a fight broke out and Gerard Devlin was killed just yards from where he used to live.
I seen him over the car. I seen the knife going to the side. And just held him. The ambulance was too long. I just seen him going all black, all the way up. And then Gerard doesn't, he says, Anya, I'm down, Anya. And I said, you're not Gerard. But he was right, he knew that he was down. I think about Gerard every morning, day and night. He lived for me and his 6 children. That's all gone. It's all taken from us.
Within days, 4 people were charged with his murder. In Ballymurphy, houses and a shop belonging to the Notarantonio family were targeted, attacks linked to the feud. Another Notarantonio house was burnt out. It was Charlotte's. A month ago, she was targeted again.
This is exactly where the petrol bomb came in. Before they threw a petrol bomb in, they threw 2 devices in. And on the video you can actually see them, exactly what they've done, right down to lighting the petrol bomb. They didn't intend to let us walk away from here. I do think they intended to kill us.
How lucky do you think you've been?
Very, very lucky.
Charlotte's brother, Victor Notarantonio, is convinced that the IRA have been involved in the attacks.
At the end of the day, the IRA's behind us. Maybe not the leadership, but if it's not the leadership, it's up to leadership to dismiss the ones that's causing it. Because they're openly causing it, the people in the area knows who's causing it. They started this thing off, and I said at the time, they've made a monster which they can't control, and they can't control it. These young fellas.
Even though Victor Notarantonio is critical of the IRA, it didn't stop him asking them to intervene.
I've actually went to the IRA one time and asked them, whatever one of the families step out of line, shoot them. I've actually says, whatever one of our families step out of line, our family or the Devlin family, shoot them. I've went to leadership of the IRA and asked them this and all. No, I don't want no trouble.
As the feud worsened, the 2 families got involved in mediation. And as a result, family members from both the Notarantonios and the Devlins were asked to leave the area.
Well, they asked me to put my son out and the other nephew there 11 months ago, 2 months before Gerard Devlin was killed. And I refused because he'd never done nothing. They says they want to stop this fight. What I said to them was, Tarantonio was not fighting the Devlins. It's Devlin fighting with Tarantonio. I'm not putting my son out for nothing. And they says, well, if the son doesn't go out, the nephew doesn't go out, the whole family's going out. The whole family, they're trying to get out.
In Wycliffe Parade, members of both families still live close to each other. Over the past few months, their homes have been regularly attacked with paint and petrol bombs. Today, Notarantonio homes lie empty, burnt out.
Well, I have been attacked. It's not through any members of our family, because we condemn it. Entire Antonio's house just has been attacked, and it hasn't been done in our names. But let's face it, see, at the end of the day, homes can be rebuilt, a life can never be brought back. There was a man murdered, and people seem to forget it. They're talking about these houses that's going on fire. That's nothing to do with us. Jared Devlin's death has just been brushed to his side.